Welcome to Workshop Goals. Today we are continuing the build out of the Dream Shop, and we are back in the back corner, which is the future room for our CNC. And that's what we're working on today. So we've got a few goals for today. First of all, we want to get this room completely sheathed and ready for the CNC. Second, we got to get all the electrical working. Third, we're actually going to take delivery of our new 5x10 CNC. And fourth, by the end of the episode, I want to have our first project coming off the CNC. So let's get to it. Now this room back here is gonna have a ceiling, and so I'm gonna have rim joists around the walls, and I'll be running some 2x6s across for the ceiling and putting drywall up there. That is not gonna happen today, but to know how far up we need to run our drywall, I'm gonna go ahead and do all the rim joists, and we'll start with this back wall. I'm gonna cut that just a little shy. 160 3/8. All right, we got a whole stack of these 16-foot 2x6s. I ordered 16s because we're gonna have 14 footers. They're gonna be 2 foot on center, and I want bracing in between. So we'll actually be using the offcuts of these for some bracing, which will be nice. We'll go 160 3/8 on this bad boy. All right, our super simple sawhorse is coming in handy. So we're gonna go right up here on top of this top plate, which is about 11 feet 8 inches. So by the time we get down, our ceiling should be 11 feet. So I'm just gonna put a couple of these wooden blocks in here just to help me hold up that 2x6 as I'm trying to get it tacked in. One of the things that we're gonna have to deal with on a lot of this lumber and framing is just it being kind of out of whack. So back here, you know, these are nice and flush, but down here on this end, I've got quite a bit of an overhang. All right, so got my straight edge, and if we, first of all, kind of just run it across, these all look pretty good comparatively, but there's a big discrepancy. I could fit a whole finger in between this one compared to this one. This guy's definitely got to be trimmed down a bit, but actually some of these other ones I think probably need to as well. I really can't do anything except for shim and trim. We replaced a lot of those studs on the interior walls because we could get to them, but these are obviously locked into place. They're, you know, spray foamed, and there's no moving those. I'll just take a few swipes off of that with the hand planer and see where it gets us. All right, that is a lot closer. Yeah, much, much closer. I'm gonna take just a little bit more off because it is still, definitely still a little bit high. The trick is not to take off too much, but you know, sometimes you just have to send it and see what happens. There we go, that feels good. We are much better lined up now, even though we still have a gap at the bottom. Up at the top, we're nice and flat. I might have to do a little bit more work down there. This wall is just jacked. All right, I think we're close enough now. I can go ahead and throw up this joist here and try not to knock out my spray foam while I do it. Easier said than done. There we go. Whew. Oh, come on. Did I cut this too long? Thought I cut it even a little bit short, but apparently not. I'm gonna see if I can shimmy something off down there, just to avoid getting down and recutting this. That is dead against the board. All right, apparently we're cutting this down. All right, we're cutting off a nice thick piece just to make sure it fits. There we go. All right, this board is very important because that basically establishes the underside of our ceiling, because the top plate here and the top plate over on this interior wall don't match up. Now that allows me to kind of draw that line or laser it over there. So this joist is so far out, and obviously we should have fixed this before we did electrical, but what have we done right in this build? Nothing. So I'm gonna just have to end up replacing this box, which is fine because I thought it was just out at the top, but this thing is out just all the way down to the bottom. And it's just gonna be a big nasty hump in the drywall and the sheetrock and the plywood. So I'm just gonna zap the whole thing. All right. Wish me luck. Whoa. I feel like this isn't making any difference whatsoever. All right, folks, that is close enough. I think I turned that 2x6 into a 2x4, but it's flush now. All right, so now we can rehang our box now that our board is nice and somewhat straight. Now what we're gonna be doing here, because this is a CNC room, I wanna have extra soundproofing, and we're gonna do that by putting up 2 layers of sheathing. The first layer is gonna be 5/8 inch drywall. The second layer is gonna be 1/2 inch plywood. So 5/8 inch drywall, first of all, it's really great for fire rating, and it's gonna be awesome for the ceiling, but it has so much mass to it, it's just gonna help knock down a lot of that noise transmission so it doesn't go, especially I'm trying to keep it out from upstairs as in the office, as well as the recording that we're gonna be doing in the main area. So what we're gonna do right now is just start laying out, and this wall will take basically a sheet and 3/4-ish, but we're gonna kind of cut some around to work around these studs, which are a little bit messed up in the spacing. Oh, it's a DIY miracle. They all fit except for this little spot. Fine adjustment. There it is. All right. We just won't put a screw in that, and that will actually survive. Oh, I didn't do my lines, but I'm gonna go ahead and get a few in. sucks. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. You can't hang drywall without cracking a few sheets. So, but the nice thing is that this is going to be under plywood, so it really doesn't matter. There we go. There's one left over, but guess what? You can just refeed it back in there. Before I throw these final sheets up here, I want to make sure I know exactly where the studs are at the top. And even though I do have some nail holes in there, I don't have nails on every one, and they were off a little bit. So I'm just going to mark here because that would totally be something I would do. I'd get up here and I wouldn't know where to put the screws. All right, if we planned everything right, or measured everything right, then these full sheets should just go straight up here. I don't know how I'm gonna get them up in this thing though. I think I'm gonna have to take them up the ladder. Those are too heavy to be hauling up here and then messing with all the edges. Let's see what we can do. All right, this is definitely a two-person job, so cameraman Adam is helping me out here. Let's see if we can go up. Like a glove. It was in reverse. I was like, why is this so hard? I did pretty good for being in reverse. All right, I think that'll do it. Whew. Back out of here and admire the wall. That's a wall. All right, we are fast forwarded to the next day, and I was here last night till 2 a.m. I guess technically it was this morning. I just barely left and I've come back. I had put up all the drywall that you see back behind me. Obviously we did not get as much done as I had hoped because the walls were just so crazy. We had a bunch of stuff to do. The camera died, I could not film it all, but basically what we have is this whole back wall, and then we have the panels done, and I also wired up 3 50 amp receptacles, and that's for the CNC that just showed up. So we'll get to those guys in just a minute, but basically we have everything that we need for a very rough install of the CNC, and we're gonna have to just work with the rest of the stuff later after it's in, which will be a little bit harder, but that's okay. But right now, take you out to the CNC, go check out what just showed up, and we're gonna be getting it installed here, hopefully in the next couple hours. This thing is huge. Holy cow. All right, here we are. This is the 5x10 Phantom CNC. This is the Reaper series with the automatic tool changer. So this bad boy, it can cut a ton of production material. This is not just, you know, like a hobby machine. This is for production, some serious cutting. We're gonna be able to zip through 3/4 inch plywood, full depth. And I don't know how fast, but fast. So anyway, we've got the 16 horsepower spindle on here, the vacuum table, the whole 9 yards. I don't even really know what I'm talking about just yet, but we're gonna find out. But we've got it up on some dollies and we're gonna wheel it in and see how it fits inside. No, we're okay, we're okay. That's tight fit. All right, we got it landed back here. This thing is fitting awesome. So a little bit tight left and right because we have the cabinet to deal with here, but we'll still be able to get everything in and out. And we're gonna scooch it around a little bit, but right now, need to do some wiring, get everything hooked up. Well, I probably won't be able to turn it on today, but tomorrow for sure. All right, end of day one of the install, and we've got almost everything taken care of. There's a few little fittings, some hose clamps and some pneumatic fittings we need to go get some extras of, but basically everything is set up. So in the morning we can finish off those things and fire this guy up for the first time. All right, day two of the CNC install, and I think everything is ready to go. We're gonna fire this thing up. Let's see right there. I think I'm actually just ready. Hit the on button. Oh yeah. I love the LED lights up here. That's super cool. The crash course of how to not crash. We'll see if I remembered it right. This is a whole thing. So we're gonna be learning today how to run it, make sure we get all of our tools set up, because the tool changer, which is one of the things I'm most excited about, you gotta like program in all the different bits and stuff so it knows what's in the different tool changers. Let's see here. Oh, we got our light on. Okay, we're gonna escape out of there. I'm gonna go to my reference point. Basically now we're just setting our front point, and then we'll be able to move it once these zero out. So these are out. Now, let's see how this thing moves. And this is on low speed, by the way. Let's go to high speed. That is aggressive, and I love it. It is alive, it is going. Now I just gotta figure out how to use it. So we're gonna start up some training. We're gonna get the spoil board down here today, get it all nice and flattened, and start figuring out the vacuum pump setup, ATC like I mentioned, and we should be going. By the end of the day, we'll know what we're doing, or at least a little bit more than we know right now. Getting ready for the main event. All right, the guys have left and we have everything set up. Another big thank you to Mike and Jacob from Phantom for coming out here and helping me get this all set up and doing some training on the machine. I know just enough to be, a menace. So we'll see how everything works. But let me show you around because I am stoked about this. This is so awesome. This thing is way bigger than, when you see it in person. 5x10 just sounds, okay when you're looking at it on paper, and when you get it in the shop, it is massive. But let me show you the nuts and bolts of this thing real quick, and then we can move it around. I'll show you some of the features of it. All right, this big guy right here basically is the brain of the CNC, and we've got all the controllers, the VFD. All these things are run off of VFD, which is a variable frequency drive, which basically converts phase 3 power to single phase power, which we have here. The whole idea behind the CNC is that we're gonna be able to make flat pack cabinetry. But when I was talking with my buddies, I was like, hey, I wanna do a 4x8. They're like, dude, go 5x10. If you've got the space, go 5x10. And I barely had the space, but we made it work. Once this thing starts moving, it will really kind of pinch you over there, which I'll show you in just a minute. But we've got the 5x10 with the vacuum table, which is so awesome. You can throw a sheet of plywood up here. I'll show you that too, because that's really cool. It has such suction. We don't have to use clamps or anything. We're gonna be able to do big 4x8 sheets, or if we wanted to do 5x10, or if we want to flatten slabs or whatever, right? It's like, if you need the extra space, you don't need it until you need it, is what everybody kept telling me. It's like, if you need it, you're gonna want it, or whatever. When you need it and you don't have it, that's what sucks. So we went with a 5x10. Now back here is where basically all the kind of support machines are. So this is the air compressor. This is a screw compressor, which is really cool. It's a lot quieter than your standard air compressor. And this thing is a beast, 90-gallon tank with an air dryer integrated on it, which is awesome. Then we've got the vacuum pump, which drives the bed there. And that sucker is, they rate everything in like kilowatts. So this one's like, I think 5.5 kilowatts, and that's 7.5 kilowatts, but they take 50 amp breakers. They're big boys. And then over here, we're gonna have a dedicated dust collector for it, and this guy is a 3 horsepower dust collector, just runs off of our little 20 amp, and this will take care of all this. So we've got the tubing, and I wanna hang that up on the ceiling so that it's out of the way and everything, and we'll get rid of this probably, just so it's, you know, a little bit more walking room. But one of the cool things, and I'll show this to you, this right here. This is the automatic tool changer. So I've got my tools laid in under here. It's a little dark because my guy's sitting here, but we've got 8 different slots where we can put different bits, and that's gonna be so awesome when we're doing production. So that's, again, I want to do cabinetry, and so when you have cabinets, you've got things like shelf pin holes. You might have just your standard cutting that you might be doing with a compression bit, and you might have like a flat bottom bit that you might be doing a dado or something, and you want a down cut or something like that. So if you wanted to use 3 different bits, then instead of having to go in and change them by hand, this does it. It does it like instantly. All right, so this machine is worthless without files. So we need to make some files and make some test cuts. And I want to try out just a few simple things. And I also want to make a checklist, a little startup checklist on all the things that I need to do to get it going. And that'll be my little cheat sheet and a great way to test out the machine. And I have a ladybug on my neck. These things are wild. They're getting in the shop, and I'm getting attacked by ladybugs. They want in on the CNC action. But I'm gonna jump inside, get on the V-Carve, and design some things, and then we'll get this thing cutting. All right, I spent some time in V-Carve, and I've got the project ready to go. This is what I designed, which is a CNC startup list. So it's the 10 things that I need to do every time I run a job, and I thought that'd be the perfect project for our first cut. So I went ahead and got this all mocked up in V-Carve. I've got it loaded up. And so since we're gonna do our first cut, I'm gonna follow the list and we'll get this thing going, see how it turns out. All right, let's power up the compressor. All right, number 2, power on the CNC. All right, now we need to home the CNC. All right, so already I can tell that my list needs a little help because after I homed my CNC, I went to set my X and Y, but I haven't loaded any of the wood. So I'm just gonna make a little note of that. We're gonna cut this because I just wanna have it, and we'll have the next iteration after that, but clearly I need to say push back the machine because when I've homed it, I can't load the wood right now. So I'm gonna push it back, load up the wood, and then we'll continue with the list. Now I'm using some 1/2-inch plywood on this, and I already measured it and I put all that into V-Carve. So this is actually ultralight plywood, which I've been using. It is basically a kind of an alternative to Baltic birch, and it's pretty awesome. Now we can go to the next one, which is confirm and set our Z height. But honestly, I think we should turn on the vacuum pump first so that it sucks it down in case anything moves. And I'll switch these around, make a little note for that. We'll turn on the vacuum pump. It's gonna be much harder to hear now that that's running, but I'm gonna open the back zones, which will actually make that be a little quieter. All right, so it's actually much quieter when it's running the air through it. It screams when it's just not pumping anything and it's just getting all that pressure. But let me put my pins down. That's probably another checklist item. Check the hold on the piece. I think that's pretty good. All right, now I can confirm my X and Y location.
How do I do that? Still, there we go, back to origin. All right, that is on my corner, so my X and Y are good. My Z height, I had it up in the air just for safety. So let's see here. Now I can set my Z height, and I'm gonna use the pendant to do that. Let's see here, handle. I'll move this out a little bit. All right, I'm getting a little tension there. Getting a little drag on the paper, and so I know that's my Z0. So we'll go clear Z. Now we got it. Right, now we can load the job file. Plug in my little master stick here. Load. All right, ready to turn it on. Now, typically you would just hit the start button and it goes, and that's what I'll do when I get more comfortable. But they have this cool feature where I can hit this hand wheel guide and it will only run while I'm spinning the crank on the hand wheel. So it'll go through all the same steps, but it will only go if I'm spinning. So as soon as I stop, everything stops. The motion, the spindle will still go, so I'm gonna do it that way just to make sure that nothing crashes out. So I still get to push the start button though. So as soon as I start spinning, the spindle will spool up. And, let's see it. I'm gonna raise this up just so I can see the bit when it first starts, so I know that it's cutting in the right spot. All right, we've got number 10. It looks like it's doing good. And it always starts in the bottom and cuts weird, but we're gonna let this thing rip now. All right, nothing crashed, which is a big plus. Let's move it out of the way and see how we did. Oh, that looks so good. Let me turn the vacuum pump off and then we can pull it off. All right, so I did not clamp any of this down. That was all just the vacuum pump. And so now it should just pull right up as long as I cut through, which I did. Oh, a little bit of an onion skin there at the bottom. But check that out. That is so cool. So the V carving on the letters turned out great. My little design worked. And like I said, I just right at the front there, I mean, that is the slightest of undercut, which means I didn't really cut into my spool board a lot. This worked out really well. Gonna have to change this, but I love it. We can make all kinds of different signs. I'm gonna make a sign, you know, live, love, laugh. Have that in the house. Poop here. It's endless, guys. This is really, really cool. I am stoked to finally have the CNC in place, the first project off it, and just knowing the possibilities and the opportunities that this machine gives us. A big thank you to Phantom CNC again. I can't wait to just get more hours on this machine and see what we can build with it. But we've got it all in place. We still have a lot of work, obviously, to do to get all of the sheathing and everything done. We'll do that in some future episodes. I'm Brad, and until next time, set a goal and get it done.